Great to be back. I've really been looking forward to this because I've got a special guest on today, a really good friend of mine. We call him Grouch. Prebeg. Prebeg has been a Marine. I'm going to read his Wikipedia, to be honest, because you're not anybody unless you've got a Wikipedia. That means you really are famous. Prebeg was born in Zagreb, 1982. According to his sister, ever since he was a child, he wanted to be in the military. As the invasion started on the 24th of February, his unit on the front line only managed to hold the initial Russian onslaught for 12 hours, same as me. We'll talk about that in a bit. When they were given orders to withdraw. During their withdrawal, he said that the lack of adequate anti-tank weapons proved to be a major problem. And he was part of the fighting withdraw back to Mariupol, and he joined me in the defence of Illich Steelworks. Great to see you, mate. Really good to see you. How you been?
You too, man. I'm alright. Living an easy life on the Croatian coast.
Yeah, it's nice. Better than getting bombed out in Dnipro. This is at the moment. We've just got.
Yeah,
I think I really
I
wanted
bet.
everyone. I really wanted everybody to hear your story because I failed miserably, but you failed spectacularly. So your story is
Failure
elegant.
is a failure.
Failure's a failure, but you nearly made it back. So, but I think we.
Yeah.
So my first question, really, mate, is how did you get to the Marines, and what made you decide to? And what's your background, really? I think it's a good way to start.
So I served for 5 years in the Croatian military in Army infantry unit as a rifleman. After that, I tried for the French Foreign Legion. I failed in the pre-selection because of some health issues. There I met a guy who also was a candidate. He's an ex British serviceman from the Irish Regiment who later we kind of stayed in contact, and later he invited me. He messaged me one night at 1 o'clock and said, "Hey, dude, there's a new law. You can sign an official contract and join an official unit of the Ukrainian Armed Forces." So that was it for me. I just make a decision right there and then. Got up in the morning, went to my job, quit, made a passport, packed my bag, and flew to Kiev. And then the selection process was lasting for about 3 months, and then COVID came. So sitting on my ass in a hostel where my paperwork was sitting in some drawer while everybody was at home and hiding from COVID. And after that, they called me in for a security interview, gave me a green light, and I went to Mykolaiv to our unit and signed a contract.
And it's that simple.
Well, not quite. When you come to Ukraine, there's a ton of paperwork. They ask for me uh, like a certificate from doctors that I'm not using drugs, psychiatric evaluation, document from my country that I'm not under investigation or under any ongoing trials or anything, and many other papers. And upon all that, we have to get the green light from Ukrainian Security Service, Ukrainian Border Control, and
Mm.
Ukrainian Migration Service. So when you get all three green lights, then you go to the unit, you get interviewed, you get something that translates to like an invitation to the unit, and when you take that and present it back to the recruiting officer, they give you your paperwork and give you a green light to go and join your unit.
And
And then
that
when you arrive to the unit, then you sign a contract.
and that's where we first met.
Yep.
And what did you?
Actually, we
I know.
first met when I came to Mykolaiv to get interviews. So
That's
Adrian
all right.
brought me to the unit, and you and the guys met me at the main gate. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. It's
that was the
magic.
first time we you gave me. I remember you gave me from all of them. You gave me the only no bullshit talk.
Yeah.
about how it is, and like, yeah, it's just like this. Don't expect this. Don't expect that. You can expect this. You can expect that. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much meets my expectations. So yeah, I'm gonna join.
Yeah, we had one rule: you leave your religion and your political beliefs at the door. You come in and you support each other
Yeah,
as a team,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really about it. And it wasn't great. It was a very new aspect of having internationals coming over and actually working with the Marines. I mean, you didn't suffer from the same situations we suffered. Is you understand a bit of Russian?
Yeah, I know.
You can speak a bit of Russian. So a
Yeah,
sort of
well,
value.
not.
You had some value straight away to us.
Well, not in the beginning, because in the beginning it was just bits and pieces. Because yes, Russian and Ukrainian are Slavic languages, also like mine. So I had a certain advantage because here and there's a word that's similar, and also I have a background that my mother was Bulgarian, so I have bits and pieces of that. So altogether, I had like maybe 35-40% understanding of the language, and little by little I learned more. So I had quite a bit of advantage over you English speakers.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if I speak English. I think your English is better than mine, to be fair. It's like, but no, I mean, the value of that
Don't
is
sell
sixfold.
yourself short.
The value of that is obviously in our sort of work when we were working was second to none. You could speak English. You were instantly, a cog in the wheel, so to speak.
Yeah,
So that made life a lot easier for us to really integrate because it was down to us, wasn't it, to really integrate with the Ukrainians and how they work and how
yeah,
they
yeah.
fund it. So that was essential. How did you find you in comparisons to the Croatian military, the Ukrainian military at the time?
Well, Croatian military at the time when I was serving was peacetime military. So there were quite a lot of training, but it wasn't so intense as it was in the Ukrainian army. Difference was in equipment, and difference was uh, the intensity which we trained, because here in Ukraine we had to prepare in like all our preparation was for real life combat situation, while in the Croatian military it's we're if we have preparations for a real life combat situation, it would be for some peace support operation like Afghanistan or Kosovo or something else.
It's a total different aspect, isn't it, when you're doing peacekeeping, which many in the West have come
Yeah,
accustomed to. They've got really accustomed to soldiers don't actually fight anymore. They do peacekeeping roles and anti-terrorism roles. And
yeah,
in England, they go on the fire engines when the firemen go on strike and stuff like that. We've lost touch in the West of what actually soldiers do. And Ukraine is essentially, it's about killing your enemy, fighting your enemy, winning, because there's no place for second best. So you've got to get out there and have
yeah.
that mentality. So that's where I was gearing at with the sort of question about how did you sort of compare it to the Croatian military? Because I've been on here a dozen times talking about the British military and how we're sort of really unprepared in the West. NATO standards being the word we kept bringing in, but really the Ukrainians taught me as much over sort of several years, as much as I taught them about less reliance on electrical NATO standards and everything else. So, I think we would beat Russia in a fight, NATO, but I think we'd run out of missiles in 2 weeks. But essentially the stand, we're very fixed in our standards, NATO standards, and one thing that I sort of said when I went to Ukraine was how they are not regimented, not fixed. They would quite adapt. And, if you wanted a red dot, you can go to the shop and buy a red dot. If you wanted to go and get some Gucci
Yeah,
gear, you could go and wear it. You'd adapt to your fire team to suit the environment.
yeah.
I mean, you wasn't in Dushiar, which is the airborne assault. Just tell everybody where you went into the Marines and how you've slotted into the Marines before we go on to the juicy bit.
Yeah, for the first bit and the first tour, I was with the Air Assault company, and later I was transferred to the first company, like just a regular marine company. So the this year, when you served in it, you don't realize that it's actually a little bit of an elite unit, because the training and everything is, they push you more, they ask more of you, and little by little you don't understand, but you get there. Your stamina, your fitness level gets higher. Uh, your your capability to improvise on the field is higher and everything, and the equipment is a little bit maybe better than regular infantry units. So
Yeah, you're the pinnacle of
there's
the
been,
battalion, aren't you, with the just your air
yeah, yeah,
assault company? Yeah.
yeah, because it's not very obvious in training, but they are pushing and preparing you for that possibility that you might be dropped somewhere and be on your own. So
Mm.
it's obvious later when you get into fighting that it's a bit different.
Yes,
Yeah,
as we found out. So we're going to fast forward a bit and talk about the time leading up to the full-scale invasion. Obviously, um, from my perspective, I was sort of saying to be the we actually came back off leave together in the January, which is just
yeah,
before the
yeah,
February,
yeah.
which was
We
quite.
were just, we were buying that things that we got from donations, like
That's right.
shovels and equipment from for the positions.
Epicenter. The epicenter that people don't know is like B&Q or Home Base or Home Depot, where you can go and buy all your
Yeah,
garden hoses, your shovels, spades, and we had a list that we got from donations that we had to buy our positions. So we were going
yeah.
back to our positions from Mariupol with all these shovels, spades, picks, hoses, wire,
Oh,
anything that we needed
don't forget the wheelbarrow.
and the wheelbarrow to hold it all in. Yeah, so and I quite tell people as well that it's quite odd because wherever I fought in the world, I've always been in safe patrol harbors or green zones,
Yeah,
or and this I was telling people I got a taxi. We got a taxi with all our stuff
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to the position on the front line, which is from my
yeah.
house, which is about 30 minutes from my position. So it was
On
slightly
foot.
odd on foot. Yeah, so it's slightly odd that you can get a taxi to your position, get dropped off, and walk in. Obviously not now the full scale invasion, but generally that was considered you got back to your unit
Yeah.
any way you could. So, and then we were talking about the build up was essentially we didn't. If you spoke to most Ukrainians, what were they telling you about what was going to happen?
So the most of the Ukrainians were in disbelief. I believe that they were trying to trying to make themselves believe that it's not gonna happen, because as you know, there was Minsk 1 and Minsk 2 and many agreements. They were just this atmosphere all over Ukraine. They were afraid to fight this giant in open field, and they were trying to find a peaceful solution for the war before the full scale invasion. So everybody was in mentality like, no, this is not gonna happen. You're paranoid. You don't need all this equipment extra that you brought and stuff. Now I'm like, yeah, this is happening. I don't know where, when, but it's happening. If we are to learn from history, it's gonna be after the Olympics. So that's how actually happened.
And we had just in case command and control went down, we had an escape plan. Do you want to tell people what it was?
Yeah. So we had this escape plan that was called Anne Frank. Idea, our idea
Operation
was
Anne
to,
Frank. Yeah.
yeah, as our idea was to get in touch with each other, move on foot to Mariupol, go to your apartment in Mariupol, change it to civilian clothes, and just try to fight with the partisans, or maybe later move on foot out of Ukraine. And that failed miserably.
Fair miserably. So well, that's a good chance to start with leading with the. I mean, we have a bit of humour about it, but it is our way of. I tell people all the time, it's our way of coping with some of the dark stuff. and obviously it is emotional. But you know,
Yeah,
some things we do look back with humor and just those things did really happen, is what I keep telling people, especially when they're in my bed. We're like, really, did that happen? I was like, yeah, of course, that's exactly what happened.
yeah,
You know, it's like, what do you think?
yeah,
Because people think that you're professionals, even. You train all the time, you train to fight, you do this, things go wrong and things you don't anticipate.
yeah.
Like Russia had air superiority from the first day, and they took out the
Of course.
masts, they took out the transmitter towers, they took out all the communications, they had jammers. And you sort of have all these ideas, but when the actual initiation of the war just starts, everything just goes to shit. You
Yeah.
know, and all that training, you'll start improvising from day one, don't you?
I remember one good saying from one TV show. There was a story about some Navy SEALs and they lost a guy. So one guy was saying like, you do thousands and thousands of hours of training and planning and preparation, and then you have 5 minutes of pure chaos, and then you have another thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on thinking, what could have I done differently? So it doesn't turn that way. That's kind of sums the situation on the
It
field.
is, yeah. Out of 13 years in the military I did, I probably had really a year of if you put all the contacts and all the full contacts I had within my whole career, including Mariupol, you could probably fit all that into 1 year out of 13 years in the military. Most of my military career was training, waiting, training to wait,
Yeah.
on the bus, off the bus, on the bus, off the bus. And people, the problem with people that come over now, as I touched on in my last episode, was they want to fit their war in 6 months. And I got to be back in the UK by March, and they're not really committed, is what I'm saying. We were there as a career choice, as being in the military
Yeah.
for a 3 year
Yeah.
contract was something we wanted to do. So where were you? Describe the position you were at on the first day of the invasion, leading up to, that 4 in the morning when we all stood to.
So interesting enough, I ended up in the same position as the previous rotation where I went with DSHR, the exact same position. And interesting situation that one of the positions burned totally to the ground due to furnace for heating, and my half of my platoon have to move further away from us, like almost a kilometer or more. So this morning when the attack started, we went to this burned position to provide support for them in a case if they have to fall back. They would have to fall back without support for like 2 kilometers through the trenches. So we were there and just covering their left flank.
And yes, I've said to people before, we were there the year before, and we got pretty much the
Yeah,
same positions near enough. And Pavlopil, just to give people a bit of geography, I'll put a map up anyway when we do the editing. Is
yeah,
about 20 minutes from Mariupol, and between Pavlopol, where we were based, and Mariupol, there's two big towns, Sartana and Telekivka, and there. Did you
yeah.
notice any changes in the technology, any upsurge in the artillery just before they came across the border?
Well, along my line of sight was this: we had there. They told us that there was negotiated like a ceasefire from 8 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, and we were asking like, what the fuck? Why the ceasefire for a few hours? And they said, well, they have people from the gas and electric company putting installations in their positions, and I was like, what? And I think it was a week before that. Actually, the position that half of my platoon moved to was occupied by a recon unit. Just a week or two before that, they had one of their guys killed by a sniper. He just hit him straight. It's like from the movies. He got raised above the cover, and the sniper round went through night vision sight, split it in half, and killed him inside. So they move out of this position, and then we were probed. They tried to get into their position, and we had a huge firefight with Aiden actually supporting us with mortar.
I remember that
on this day. Yeah. And after that, we were observing like movements, and we were constantly like observing some things like vehicles, like BTRs and BMPs and MTLBs and stuff like this. So yeah, there was definitely change in their position all the time. Like it could be read that something's coming up.
So take me to the morning. What happened in the morning in your position when they came across the border?
So that morning, usually we wake up around 6. This morning it was 4 o'clock, and it was just artillery, everything you can imagine: missile artillery, mortars, long range guns. Everything was just dropping on us, and we were just inside for like 2.5, maybe 3 hours, and then they send us to cover the guys. So other platoons from the first company where I was currently was in firefights, and also the first section of my platoon, the guys we were covering, we were just standing there and give them cover from time to time, but majority of time we were just waiting for them to retreat, and waiting when we will get the order to retreat. We were listening over the radio how your unit, the DSR, already is retreating, how second company is they had a really they had the most losses in the first day of fighting. They had a lot of wounded, a lot of killed, and they even had people who got captured in the first day of fighting. So we were just anxious because, like, what the hell is going on? Everybody's retreating except for us. Like, what's gonna happen? So little by little, they kind of ordered the retreat. So we were supposed to be evacuated, but by vehicles. But every time we were trying to evacuate, the vehicle was full. So it was kind of like Black Hawk Down when they run the Mogadishu Mile. We were running in body armor with hell, holding as much as we can medical supplies, and just running towards Pavlopol. In the end, like, we were already on the pavement in Pavlopol when the BTR came in, and we just jump on. We went to Pavlopol. We crossed the bridge over the Kalmius River, and engineers blew it up. So we stayed across the bridge, overlooking the village.
Yeah, and then we had a second position on the hill overlooking the village, didn't we? I think we were all we all reorged up there, and what a light show that was.
If I remember, you moved in direction of Talakivka and Sartana.
Yeah, in the morning we did. We crossed the river. We was up on that height, and they were like weirdly, they were like pre-made trenches in some of the areas that we were in, which was slightly odd that we'd gone back to those areas, which had a great vantage point of Pavlopol, the village. And then we sat there for the night watching the firework display. I remember just thinking, shit, nobody's seeing this. This is amazing. This is actually, it looked like something out of Star Wars.
It's both terrifying and beautiful in the same time. I don't know how to explain to people. Like, it's like you see all this light, this like BM-21 Grads, just batteries of it, just constant firing missile after missile
coming in,
and
after
in the middle of the dark, it looks like a fireworks, just like you said. And then you think, Jesus Christ, those missiles are dropping on someone's head. And the direction in which they were firing was the Sartana and Talakivka. So I was like, God damn it, what the hell? Who knows what's happening there? Like, how the people who live there, how the people who defend it are going through this? Like, it was just, and we didn't have any long range weapons to engage them. You could just observe from distance, as you said. We had the fire support platoon with us, and they had, if I'm not mistaken, what was the name? I think it's Corsair. But all they had was one anti-tank missile, and all the rest were just anti-personnel, those like fragmentation missiles that they could fire. So
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
a tank that tried to cross the dam in Pavlopol, and we engaged it. The Corsair crew just was waiting for it. They shot their missile, the one anti armor that they had, and the tank kind of pick up on that. So he went into reverse and hide behind the courtyard gate. So we hit the gate, and the tank was still okay. So this night they were a little. They didn't dare to cross the dam, so we held another night in this position. And in the morning they brought half a battery of grad closer by, and they start shelling us on the top. So we went further. Let me remember. I think it was further north. I can't be sure. I would have to check it on map. So we went even further into direction of village Orlovske. There was another line of positions with like proper trenches with like wood logs and
Yeah,
concrete bunkers and big trenches for vehicles and stuff. So we stayed here for I think another night, and after that we retreated to
back in.
Mariupol.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I was in the withdrawal back for several days. So like we went from the hill to Telekivka, then we went from Telekivka to Satna, then we stayed there for 2 or 3 days, and then we were holding the Russians on the west. And then we eventually we got back towards, I think around the 1st of March, we got into Mariupol. So
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're right, we were just totally unprepared. I mean, I got NLAW's anti-tank missiles about 4 days before they crossed the start line across the border into
yeah,
Ukraine, and literally no one had had any training. I was the only one that had fired one for the original NLAW 94 back sort of some 20 odd years ago. So, and
yeah. And it was huge problem with lack of batteries. There was not enough batteries for the NLAWs. So you have
no,
this weapon system that doesn't work without battery, and if you have like a depleted battery, it's like useless.
it
You
just we
can
were
use it
just
as a
totally
club.
unprepared. We'd had
Yeah,
8 years to prepare, and we were quite ill prepared for a full scale Russian invasion. So, and like you said, most people, generally, including my wife, sort of said, "No, it will sort itself out. Nothing's going to happen. It will sort itself out." So
yeah,
so that
yeah.
takes us back into Mariupol. You were based at Illich Steelworks alongside me. You were on to the left of me, on my position. I've covered
I,
a
I was I was more north of Ilicha. I was on the
yeah
north side of town, on a road that was looking in.
on the H20 highway. You were just on my left flank on the
Yeah, yeah,
H20
yeah, yeah,
highway, looking out the road to
yeah, yeah,
Donetsk, basically from Mariupol.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And when you got there, I found when I got into my position, we dug in that we had a bit of a lull for 2 weeks. The war was going on all around us, but really for a couple of weeks,
Yeah,
we got enough time to dig in on the west side, northwest side, and really dig in. And we watched it all going on around us as the Russians sort of moved west, into Mariupol. But then really after a couple of weeks we started to get the focus at when they started to encircle Mariupol, which by the end of it was 200
yeah.
kilometers deep, and they were coming in to try and cut us off from Azovstal, encircle the two different steel plants. What was your what happened to you on those early days and up until sort of April? How was it going your end?
So I remember the day we came to Mariupol. They just give us a little bit of food. They give us a resupply of ammo. We got some RPG grenades and stuff. We just clean our rifles and all the weapon systems, prepare for fight. And they brought us to this crossroad where was a checkpoint of the National Guard, and there was like a uh, let's say forward point of one. I think it was platoon size as of unit. So we were just back up for them for first few weeks. But the scary thing was that they brought us there. They brought some shuffles from the nearby gas station, and they just said, "Dig in. We are expecting tax in 60 minutes." And I'm like, "What? I can't dig a trench that will protect me from a tank in 60 minutes. That's like crazy."
It's not,
But
no.
luckily, yeah, it's mental. Luckily that never happened. And as you said, in the beginning of February and all the way until 15th of March, the guys from Azov did real good. They were going on night raids, and there were reports every morning, like, "Oh, we came back. There was two tanks and one BTR that was a grad position. There was one platoon, and so on and so on." And of 15, when they said that the Russian Marines landed between God damn it. Well, what was the polygon where we went to
Oh, like
that?
Azov. They landed
Yeah,
in
between
Azov.
between Urzuf and Mariupol. So landed
Yeah.
somewhere there, and they start getting in the other side of town. So they pull back the guys. The whole there was a, I think it was a company of National Guard and this Azov platoon. So they pulled them further to the center of the city to meet the Russian Marines. So we were on our own, and they were like, "Oh, you're on your own now. You're gonna hold the position." And I remember that night, I just said like, "Okay, it's still kind of safe." So I came to my position at midnight, took off my helmet, body armor, and start digging like crazy. By the morning, I had the trench deep to my shoulders, and I had a little bit of dirt cover, and I filled two wooden cases for RPG grenades, and I had cover all over
Oh,
above
you're
my head.
lucky,
So in
yeah.
case of something, and it was meter by half a meter with a little seat on it, and I was, if they're gonna shoot at me, I'm gonna be like a little cup on the middle of a square, and you're trying to throw in a marble,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
gonna be
like,
hard to get you.
I, yeah, it was just I was just hoping that they're not going to be able, but when they start hitting us hard, there were shrapnel
It
flying over my
was,
head like,
man, it was just crazy, especially when they got linear on our embankment position and the sows would come in, the mobile artillery would come in, and you'd hear that from it went from like long to long artillery where you'd hear that boom, and then you got some time, before it gets to you to get in these tanks and mobile
yeah,
artillery coming in where it's like boom, and you ain't go, and then a second later, the front of your trench has gone up with margin where it's hit the embankment, and my God, and grad, and then they had total air dominance. I mean, they just came in and did bombing run after bombing run after bombing run, hitting every government
yes.
building, hospitals, schools,
Not just every
office blocks.
government building; it was all over
Yeah,
the Mariupol. It was interesting. The first air raid siren was on 28th. No, yeah, 28th of February. After that, until the fall of Mariupol, there was a plane coming every 20 minutes,
every 20 minutes.
24/7. Like
Absolutely.
every 20 minutes. That was just the planes. And upon all of that, there was Grad, there was long range cannons, there was mortars, AGS, everything. To be honest, I was afraid most of the AGS,
Yeah, me too.
and Ukrainians, not Ukrainians, Russians have this cassette mortar. It has cassette for 8 rounds, and it can just shoot boom, 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 8 rounds. And this is not a long-range weapon. The maximum range of this weapon is 8 kilometers. So this was meant for us, not for the government buildings. So whenever I would hear that, I would just go into my trench and just lie down, try to hug the dirt.
It doesn't make a noise if you don't hear where it's fired from. It doesn't really make a noise as it's coming in either. AGS, does it? It just
AGS.
The first you know is it just comes into your position, bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, it just goes like.
Yeah, it's horrendous when you're on the other end of it.
Carpet covers the surrounding area. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's so scary. Yeah, and I got used to the grad, you know, if you could see it. It was easier to spot grad if it was coming your way at night than it was during the day, because you could see the tail fins, which meant it was either going left or right. And then if you didn't see you heard the launch, but you didn't see it in the tail fins, it was either behind cover or coming at you.
Actually, we had a grad position. I believe it was maybe 2 kilometers from us. So in the middle of the night, when they would launch missiles towards Mariupol, it would be just like drums, like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
and it's not like you see it in the movies. In the movies, like that hissing sound, no, it's just like an explosion after explosion after explosion. And after that, when they leave the tubes and go for a few kilometers, then you hear the hissing sound. Like
yeah. And the one thing I learned is when you hear that, what you'd see with the planes coming in is you'd see the explosion from them firing whatever they were firing in, and the explosion would have happened, and then you hear the, which was slightly odd when you witness that for the first time. That if you hear the, it means you're still alive because the bomb's already hit.
The sound is not like we see in the movies. The sound, for me, reminded me like something from Star Trek or Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what the fuck are they having? Like a laser cannons or something? It's just, and then there's the hissing sound, and there the explosion wherever it dropped.
Yeah, it's crazy. I described it in the book as Phil Collins. It was like,
yeah,
and it comes in, and if you get 2 cassettes, it's horrendous. So we got to, let's go up to April then. I'm just checking for time to make sure we can carry on this. But yeah, we're just checking for time. So I don't know about you, but around sort of April, I think command and control was extremely stretched. I think we were looking at getting maybe 60% of our platoon were casualties. We'd lost all 3 BTRs by then. I think we were looking at the Russians had encircled our position and started to take up positions we formerly held, which was I knew then sort of at the start of April we were on borrowed time. What was going on your end?
Well, by then they start probing us more and more every day. The thing is, my platoon wasn't exactly in Ilicha. We were in this north part. So first we were out in the open, just made a trench, and we were there. Then they discovered our positions because, of course, it's 21st century. It's not 1991. They use a lot of drones, and whenever they see movement in some area more than like one day, they start carpet mortaring it every day. So first we moved into electric transformer station. Then they discovered us there. Then we moved again to another building. Then they start dropping bombs in the courtyard of the building. And last but not, we found like wood processing plant with the locker room that had a proper like bomb shelter underneath. So that was our last position. They tried to destroy our BTRs, but we were just so lucky the whole time. The warehouse that we parked them, they hit it with the air bomb, but the part of the warehouse that they hit was empty. The other part was full. I remember by then they planned evacuation with vehicles, so they brought some kind of Renault trucks, like big lorries for dumping dirt, and they just welded additional armor plates, like just construction steel plates. and just hoping for the best. And it was like, oh, we're gonna try to run away in these vehicles. That actually failed also miserably, because by the end the communication was worse and worse and worse, and nobody knew where we are supposed to go. So that first initial attempt to evacuate Mariupol in vehicles ended up with part of units from the 36th Brigade went over our own mines, and they had like huge casualties. Two vehicles burned completely. Like, they had only one guy, I think, who survived. He tried to pull out his guys, and it was just terrible.
Carnage. It's
So
war.
yeah, so that was kind of canceled. And that night, we tried to that actually afternoon we tried to go back to our position, and it took us to cover 2 kilometers, like from 2 in the afternoon until 1 or 2, actually 10 at night, 10 in the evening, because every time we tried to walk there was a drone over us, so you just have to cover wherever you can. Back then it wasn't still the high-tech drones that they have it now, with all the
Yeah.
infrared and the thermals and everything. So if you were able to cover under some brush and not show your face toward the sky, you would be good. So, yeah, little by little, we went back to our positions. I remember getting back to our position all sweaty, took my body armor off, and they said immediately, no, 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 put it back on. You have to go relieve the guys who are in position since last night at 2 o'clock in the night. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. So we went there and relieved them around 11. I remember at 1 o'clock there was just command like, "Why are you still there? Go get back to the bunker. Like, we're leaving." And I'm like, "Where are we leaving?" And I tried to
Where we
contact my
going?
platoon command. Yeah, my platoon commander and my platoon sergeant, and we couldn't. We went back to the bunker. We met the company commander, the captain, and he asked us, "Where is your unit? Where did they go?" And I said, "I don't know. We relieved them at 10 o'clock, and didn't they come here?" He said, "No, your like sergeant and lieutenant went to meet them, and we don't know where they are ever since. So we didn't know if there was breach in our perimeter, if Russians are in our back, or are they captured, killed, or what." So
We did
we
exactly
were
the
there.
same. We left the position and then had to go
Yeah,
back to it because the night extraction was cancelled. And then we had to literally
yeah, yeah.
patrol back into the positions we just left, which is one of the most
Yep.
scariest times of being in
Mhm.
Mariupol because if a good reconnaissance unit's there's watching you leave, they're going to move straight in, and we had no idea
Yep.
whether they'd moved in as we'd moved out,
They
and
occupied your positions or not.
luckily they weren't there, so they had no idea we'd moved off the position. So it was an absolute the command and control had absolutely gone by at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it was completely like it disappeared completely.
I couldn't
We
speak
we
to you or
didn't know.
Aiden either. You know, the communications was down. I couldn't speak to you and Aiden. So that was
Yeah,
Operation Anne Frank now dead in the water.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Actually, by that time, I was still holding my. Remember, we bought those Boafeng, little Boafeng radio
radios.
stations. I was still holding to it, and I
I
was like
was
turning it on
broadcasting on
for.
it, but I couldn't get hold of you. I don't know why. The distances were okay, but I was trying to get hold of you on the little radio and trying to
Yeah,
speak to you. But I mean,
yeah. We didn't calculate for Russian jamming.
no, no, all the great ideas. I mean, it was intense time. I mean, the command and control
Yeah.
was a company level was extremely good from my end, but I think you could tell that the brigade and the battalion was folding. So it was only a matter of time before I knew that we would get the order to every man for himself at some point because it was just becoming, the position was becoming untenable. I'd got blown up. I went to the hospital. There was so many people in the hospital injured and
Yeah.
screaming, and they were telling me they would run out of
They
meds.
shoved a train wagon towards you full of
They
explosive.
did,
I don't know
yeah,
how the
yeah. I
hell
was
did.
lucky,
Yeah, how the
really
hell did.
lucky.
I remember we saw that explosion from my end. I thought that they dropped a small nuke, like it was just a big black mushroom
Shush.
cloud in a few parts of a second. It wasn't even a full second. It just went this
I was
huge
lucky because I was
shockwave, this
20
huge.
feet.
Yeah, even I think I was like 5 or 6 kilometers from where your platoon
Shush.
and company were stationed. So we felt the shockwave, like it was like a hit to my body armor. Like it was like, God damn it, what is this? And
For those
when
that
I
don't
heard that,
know, I'll just explain to people that don't know. My position was on an embankment protecting a bridge on pretty much near where Grouch was when we were in the northwest part of Illich Steelworks. And it had a railway line running parallel next to a road. And one of the days towards the end of March, the Russians had decided to load a train with about 800 kilograms of TNT and homemade explosives and drive the train into the position where the explosion, uh, once it got under a bridge, the explosion exactly hit the top of the bridge that it wanted to blow, but came back down. The train rolled back out still on the tracks. There was shrapnel and a huge explosion. And what had happened was explosions find the easiest route. And literally, it went up the embankment where I was 20 feet above on top of this embankment next to the bridge, blew me off the top of the embankment. But the direction of the embankment as it went up shaped the explosion, give it a route out. If it had been flat on the ground, I'd have been dead. But it literally pushed the explosion out and directed it away from me, which was just, I had flash burns all over my face. It looked like I
uh,
just went sunbathing in Ibiza for like too long, and I literally, my face just flash burned red straight away. I was that close. And then I was lucky enough that I had a few bits of metal in my plate and my plate carrier. It blew the foresight off my AK. I had to get a new AK. That's how bad. And I had no pouches on me at all. Literally, my tourniquet, ammo pouch, everything had blown straight off my body armor and everything else. Barely had a pouch on. So it was extremely, and even my commander Bear just came along. I went, I thought he was dead. I literally thought he was dead, and I was like, I don't know what happened. Bits of splat from my blood marks and shrapnel and stones, all that. Because when it blew up, and when it blew up, I was sitting there, and the guy next to me just said, "What was that?" And I just said, it was a bomb, and then all the stuff came down. Because we were in a wood. By the time the explosion happened, the wood had cleared by about 40 meters. There wasn't a tree standing. This thing, but all the wood came down onto our position. It must have just gone whoo, up in the air and then came down. About a second later, came down onto the position. So it was getting hit by trees and branches and stones and brick and oh man, it was just, I don't know how I managed to. One of our guys, do you remember a guy from Moldovan, who he was really
yeah,
injured badly in that, and he was really the only serious injury. Apart from a bit of tinnitus and some suntan on my face,
Pur-
generally I came out all right out of it.
the younger Purcha, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he got killed later.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I need. Well, no.
Yeah.
I think he was on my statement at the court. I don't know if he's made it out of an exchange yet. I think Moldovan's still alive because they used him
No,
in my
his old
statement.
brother is in
Ah,
captivity. The younger brother, you remember his
oh,
younger
him.
brother?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he got
yeah.
killed. His
That's
older brother was with me when I got captured.
they was nice guys. Yes. They don't look at all the same. One's big, one's small. The other one's got dark skin. The other
Yeah,
one's white. I mean, they don't look like brothers at all, do they? It's quite funny when
yeah,
they go,
yeah,
"This
yeah.
is my brother." Really? It's like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah.
Seriously? Yeah, yeah. So No, I'm gonna stop it there. We'll pick up in a minute.
They look a little bit like Del Boy and Rodney,
They
like
do,
completely
yeah.
different.
Totally
One is
different.
tall and big, one is and light haired, and the one is the younger one is short, dark hair, dark skin, like maybe the postman made him.
The milkman, if you have a milkman in
Yeah,
Ukraine. How you doing?
lovely, good.
So, well, we had a bit of a
Mm,
break there. We'll tell the orders. We had a bit of a break there because we got to change over. Had a bit of a 40 minutes and a drink of water and stuff. So we're just going to crack on. Then we're going to pick up from where we left off. So we've got
okay.
to the bit where command and control is broken down. You always find this bit. The second bit is always really good when you're talking because you've got an idea of the flow and where you're going and what happened the last time. So you always find this bit, and this is the juicy bit, this bit, because it's like the escape and
Yeah,
evasion, the captivity. This is where we're getting to the crux of it. Because you're different, your experience was vastly different from mine, to be fair. But how
yeah,
we knew of each other, how we found out that we were still alive was quite incidental, which we'll talk about a bit later.
yeah, yeah,
So we're
yeah,
going to talk to the point. So we've got to the bit where we're just breaking out now. We're going out. I'll just tell you what happened to me. We got to the Mad Max vehicles that Aidan Naslin was helping build, and we took us a couple of days to get out. We talked about going back into the position after the first night, which was foggy, must say. Perfect time to get out.
yeah,
Around sort of the April 11th, April 12th, 2022. So
yep,
then to go the next night was about 3 in the morning where we went at the same time. We loaded onto the vehicles, but this time all our seating plans and all our plans and all our that we put in place just went to shit. We started to take people from the hospital, which was a really bad
yeah,
decision because it took the able-bodied fighters out of the game because now they were dealing with casualties. And we were still on a mission to go and join a unit 130 kilometers away, which was going to be a sister unit where we were going to pick up the fight against the Russians. Unfortunately, whoever made that decision to take the casualties from the hospital, which I understand, everyone wants to get out of Dodge. They want to get back, they don't want to be captured. Whoever made that
yeah.
decision, it
Leave
was a
no man
really,
behind.
really bad decision because it just took out all the able-bodied fighters. And then on the route out, we got about 40 minutes out of Mariupol before we were ambushed. Literally, I couldn't believe we'd got 40 minutes driving through these roads out towards where we were going. And then we got ambushed firstly by air, which I've got video of, which I'm going to add to this clip. And then we got ambushed, and then we had the mortars and the artillery, and then we had small arms fire coming in over a series of about an hour or two. And it was dark when we got ambushed, so we had to debust the vehicles. And then I lost my platoon in the night. I don't know where you were in amongst all this. Where were you?
Yes, so after initial failure of evacuating Mariupol with vehicles, we returned to our bunker. By the time I got there, there was very little of people from my company that I could recognize because, as I told you, there was a part of a unit from the 36th Brigade who tried to evacuate this road, but it got on a mine. So there was people from I don't know which units. I just remember there were a lot of different Ukrainian people in Ukrainian uniforms as well as some civilians, because as I understood, there were units from the local people from local units from Mariupol who tried to evacuate their families too. So uh, when we returned from the Ilicha steelworks to our bunker, they sent me to the position for a regular, like a defensive position. After they called us back to the bunker and said that we were leaving, we got there and people were just moving. We couldn't find anyone. I only met the company captain at the bunker door, and he says, "Where's your platoon? Where's your commander?" And I said, "I don't know. I
It
thought he was with you."
sounds
And
like
he
something
said,
out
"No."
of Apocalypse Now. Who's your commander? Aren't you?
Yeah,
It's gone.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to emphasize to the audience that it was just by that stage rat shit. Everything
yeah,
had gone to
yeah.
shit.
Yes, so I'm with 6 guys. One of them was the brother of the guy we mentioned who got injured and later
Yeah.
killed, and a couple other guys. There was 2 guys from my platoon, and the rest were like, remember those volunteers, the mobilized volunteers that
Yeah,
they
yeah, we
came.
lost a couple with
I
us.
had I had 3 or 4 of them with me. So we just got ordered to move, and I got out. There are a bunch of people who I don't know who they are. I don't know if I can trust them. I don't know where are we moving, and I'm trying to get someone on the radio. Then we got the first platoon lieutenant that told us to come to the main gate. There was like a gatehouse to this wood processing area, and we reassembled with them. And he just said like, you 6, you stand on the end of the column and just follow us. So there was a like a 3-meter tall wall with like made of thick concrete blocks with concertina wire on top that goes all the way along this road that's leaving Mariupol towards north. So we were following this wall, and we were kind of covered. On our left side was the road, on our right side was the train tracks. So we were moving alongside this wall for maybe a couple of kilometers, and then there was a road that goes across this. It was just an angle, and the concertina wire was broken on top, and they told us like, you go over the wall, there is a highway on the other side of the wall, and just run across the highway, and you will reassemble with the force on the other side. So we did that one after another. When we came across, there was no one, so there's 6 of us alone again. Actually 5 of us, because as I was trying to reach someone over the radio, one of the guys went down in the bunker, and I didn't see him got out. So we are either gonna be left behind, go with these people, or we have to leave him behind. So we left, and I had trouble with that. My conscience just was eating me up until the next day when it was already clear and day, and he somehow went around us and went to the front end of this column, and he was in the group all the time. So let me get back to this. We run across the highway. We see that there's no one there, because as people were coming there, they didn't wait for the next one to come. They were just running alongside the road. So we start running and we catch up with the column. We were moving. It was again foggy night, really good for movement. And at one point, we are moving just across an open field. Like, it was kilometers and kilometers, but the visibility was roughly 100 to 150 meters. At one point, somebody at the front saw something. They threw a bunch of smoke grenades, and we made a U-turn and went back a few kilometers, then went back up in the same direction. As we were moving, there was a voice appeared from the fog behind us saying "stop" in Russian, and start shooting in the air and say "stop." I said. Then the commander gave the order to run and go into a defensive line. So at that time there was roughly 40 people in the group, more or less, and we went in a straight line with like good separation from person to person, like 2-3 meters, and we just turned towards the direction of this voice and took defensive positions. So slowly 6 figures appeared from the fog in Russian uniforms, and actually at that time we couldn't make it out if it's Russian or Ukrainian. So the commander of the group said, may establish comms like communication via voice with this commander, and he said, "I'm coming towards you alone." So he came to them. He introduced himself. He said his like name, last name, and call sign. And the guy just said, "Oh, Ukrainians." At which point, my commander turns around and says, "Fight." They have this just order that says "fight," and we just open up. 40 of us opening up on 6 guys, like with everything that we got. We had 2 PKMs. We had a couple of 40mm grenade launchers, AKs, everything. At one point, I remember that they were saying withdrawal. So my training kicked in. So as you withdraw, every second guy is supposed to withdraw for, let's say, 10 meters, lie down and give you cover, then you withdraw. At one point, there was no command like, "I'm covering, go." So I turned around and I noticed that the whole 40 guys are 40 meters. No, they just went. And there 40 of them are
just
40
kept
meters
running
behind me, and I'm all alone in this field. And I just raise my AK, turn around, and sprint like I was mad. And funny enough, 6 of us that were kind of lost, we headed on this attempt to get out of Mariupol with our helmets and body armors, where everybody else was just uniform, couple of pouches and backpacks with some food or whatever provisions they thought it was necessary. So at this point, we went into a tree line, throw some smoke grenades, and just vanished into a tree line. Then the second day, we found a boat, just aluminum boat.
So you already got, you just got to a second day. You've already beaten me because I was already captured within about 3 hours of trying my escape and evasion. So you were already in a second day. You're like, I failed, but you're now on the verge of being a hero and making it back to friendly line on that 200. How many kilometers did you sort of estimate that you had to travel to get back to friendly lines?
So when they captured us, they asked us through which villages we were going through. So as we told them, they say, "Oh, you did like roughly 260 to 270 kilometers in 12 days."
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
So it all these 12 days oddly reminded me of Bravo 20 because we didn't have any fighting chance. We had only AKs. At one point, I think they dropped the PKMs behind because they were too heavy for movement.
I did the same. So we had to strip down. I just couldn't do 200 kilometers with 8 magazines, 40 VOGs, a grenade launcher, an AK-74, a PKM, 200 rounds, spare link in my rucksack, another 25 VOGs in my rucksack. I just couldn't do it with body armor helmet. You just had to strip it all off. It was just by the time I made that decision to go.
For me, it was so heavy because the column, the group was moving pretty fast. It was very moist. We were going across this plowed fields. Your feet would dig in the ground, and it was very hard for me and the 6 guys to move along.
And at one point, one of the frost, wasn't it? It was rain and frost for
Yes. Actually, the second day after we move across the river, there was a snow in April, like heavy snow for whole night. And I don't know how we didn't froze to death or nobody got pneumonia or anything. But thing is, because of this wet ground, it was hard for me to move. And at one point, I was keep falling behind. And at one point, one sergeant came to me and said, like, "What the fuck is your problem? You're like 40. There are people older than you that are moving." And he just did this and this. And he was like, "Fuck, you're still wearing your body armor? Take that shit off. That's why you're behind."
And your war's over now, pal.
By that time, by that time I was like exhausted because I was wearing the body armor for two full days and 2 full nights.
I threw the PKM into a bush and I thought, I hope they don't charge me for this when I get back. I was like, I just couldn't carry it anymore. I just threw it, made it safe, and threw it into a bush. And I was like, good luck if anybody finds that.
Yeah, I
I was
did. I
like,
did. I did that with my. I did that with my helmet. I just threw it into a forest, into a tree line, and just head on. And after that, they came to me and they, oh, you still have the plates? We'll take them off. And when we crossed the river, I still had body armor with the soft inserts, the Kevlar one that are kind of like around 5, 6.5 kilograms. And after we crossed the river, I was like, "Fuck this! This is too heavy. I'm gonna
fuck
drop
this.
this too." So I left it, and I had just them like holsters, like hosers with belt on the side with like IFAC and a couple of mic pouches, and I didn't have pouches for VOGs for the 40 millimeter grenades, so I stuffed them alongside the things in my IFAC, until the
Yeah.
very end. I had like two or
Totally,
three grenades
totally
with me.
professional.
Of course, overcome, adapt, improvise. So that second day we found this boat, and we were going 40 people in one boat across the river, there and back for like maybe 2 3 hours, and we had only one pedal and some wooden boards, and the boat was taking water, so whoever
Bailing.
was inside, your feet yeah, your feet was get dried, as nobody had a helmet. We had to do it with whatever we had. It was with hands or whatever. Whoever managed to find something that's good enough to do it. So we crossed. We spent the night. We had some food. We went on. The third day, we crossed through a village in the middle of the day, around, let's say,
Where
I
was your
think it
food
was
coming
11
from?
o'clock noon.
Who had the food? Where was it? Was it like food you'd saved, or was
But
it food?
by that time we just had a little provisions that we got with ourselves. So this morning when we were going through this village, uh, one of the sergeants from the units that was along beside us meet someone on a gate of their courtyard, and they just give us 2 bags of provisions. So in the afternoon, we came into this forest and start making cover there. And at that time, there were part of people like the company commander and some other people on a little bit further in the middle of a field. There was another small group of trees, so they were studying the maps. We actually, at that point, the commander had GPS with them, so they were looking for a route and figuring in which direction we will move. And we were discovered. So there was a firefight outside the forest we were in, and we were just listening. And as it intensified, we just said, okay, we have to leave. We have to go because they're gonna discover us. They're gonna surround us, and we're fucked. So we moved deeper into the forest away from the firefight, and there was mortar and AGS salvos coming down on top of the tree, just far from us, and keep getting closer, 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 until at one point we just figured out, oh, it's gonna go right on top of us. So I dropped on the floor, put my hands like this, because at that point I don't have body armor or helmet. So you're desperate. You just cover your head with your hands. And I remember there is a salvo of AGS grenades just spraying the top of the trees. And there's a shrapnel like showering the ground. And I got a sting in my right shoulder. And I just screamed, ow, I'm hurt. I'm wounded. And as soon as the salvo ended, the senior in the group just said, stand up and run after me, run like hell. So I don't know how long we run. Maybe it was an hour and a half, two, I don't know. After that, we were fair distance from this firefight and where the salvos of grenades were falling. So we got again into the forest, and they say, okay, who is medic in the group? Like, prepare your IFAK. So I took my shirt off, prepared the IFAK and everything. And he was like, okay, you have a shrapnel in your right shoulder. We had two more wounded. One guy had the shrapnel in his elbow. One had it through a young guy. He had it through his left thigh. And there was one that had it in his lower back. So they just bandaged us. I think we had two injections for painkillers, but they didn't give anything to anyone, and we just moved on. And we were moving again for another 2 days. It was only at dark, only at fog. If the terrain allow us to move and not be seen like some kind of river or a stream ditch or something like that. And on the 4th day, we were already close to like dying of starvation. And one of the guys said, you know, guys, what? I have civilian clothes in my backpack. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to take a grenade and I'm going to go to the village because I have to do this or we are all dying. If you hear a detonation, that means that I detonated grenade and I'm dead, and just run without me. But that didn't happen. He came back in an hour and a half or two with 2 full bags of provisions, any kind of like raw potatoes, yeah, some kind of cans or something, and we ate like crazy. After that, this was our method of getting supplies. Water was from all the streams and rivers, and supply was just him going to the village and asking if there's any. He would first go like he's a refugee from Mariupol and try to see how people breathe, what's the situation in the village, are they leaning more towards Ukrainians or towards Russian. And if he would see that the situation is safe, he would say that we are a group of Ukrainian soldiers, that we are trying to reconnect with many Ukrainian forces on unoccupied territory, and people would just love to help him. I remember at one village, he came back and he said, well, the people in this village, on this farm that I went, said that the Russians were here yesterday in their hangar. They had like a improvised base for a few days, but they left forward towards Zaporizhia. And the people said, if you stay, we'll bring you proper food tomorrow morning. And
I'll
the
jump
next
in
morning they came.
I jump in here because on the SEER training, I mean, the SEER training you do and resistance training, escape and evasion training you do, it's a very 50-50 thing if you're going to go into an area.
Yeah,
And generally,
yeah.
wherever I fought in the world,
Well,
the front lines are quite fickle. And it's not because of anything. They might have sympathies. It's because they don't know if they're going to be Russian 1 minute or Ukrainian the next. So they sit between the bar and they're playing people off.
Yeah.
And if your family is on the front line and your family is in that position, you and I and everyone else would do anything to protect your family. So it's not because they have Russian sympathies, but you know, their kids are there, their family's there, and stuff. But it's like you just said, if you're going to go back to a house and we're going to keep here, my first thing in my head was, no, we'll keep moving.
Yeah, actually, this time these people came with a car full of goods. It was like full bucket of compote. It was a full pot of borscht. There was fried bacon, cucumbers, a big jar of honey, a couple of fresh apples, like full, like. And they took the guy and took him into a village. I had with me like 3,000, around 3,000 hryvnias and 1,000 rubles and $180 in small notes, like $20, because as you remember before we returned to the position from our vacation, we exchanged our money and took like $200 because we
Bug
thought
out
we're gonna
money.
need it for bribe, yeah, for
Bug out
bribe
money,
or
yeah.
to buy some stuff and so on. So they took him to the village shop, and he came back with cigarettes, with mayonnaise, with energy drinks, with
The
candies and
essentials.
everything.
You sound like Jim Carrey and
Yeah,
Dumber and Dumber. He's come back with a cowboy hat and a big
yeah,
pointy
yeah.
finger.
But
And
yeah, but to be honest, like it was so great for our morals because we were
yeah,
almost very defeated, very much defeated at this point, and now we are like eating like kings with mayonnaise and ketchup, and guys drinking energy drinks, and I'm eating candies and stuff like this. Like it,
and you
it
got
was
to.
a
I
great,
got to tell
yeah,
the audience. You got to remember, we were deployed in 2021 December, and we'd been all the way through the winter in the
yeah,
trenches with a 2 week break, and then we'd fought for 7 weeks with virtually no food and water. So you're going on an escape and evasion for 260 kilometers already on empty, and you're now having to hack your
yeah,
way through, get food where you can, and people don't really understand
yeah,
it. Even the military now, when they do the SEER and they do the SEER schools and the SEER training, what they do is the night before they do their exercise, they're in the battalion restaurant, having a cup of
yeah,
tea and a nice hot meal, and then they start their course and they're going through these courses, and I'm going, you imagine being fighting all the way through the winter and then fighting in an encirclement for 7 weeks and then starting your 260 kilometer escape and evasion. That stuff of more than Bravo 20. That's bigger than that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
If you say so. To be
Yeah.
honest, all my escape and evasion and SEER training was watching Bravo 20 and
Yeah, me
reading the
too.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bread and butter.
so that's everything I had. So that was it. We were moving like that for 11 days. And on the night, on the 11th day, there was just heavy rain. And we were moving around in circles. We lost our bearing. We didn't know where we were, where we going, and we were just moving around. I remember at one point we wanted to cross a field that was about less than kilometer from a road where there was a checkpoint, and every time that we tried to cross the field, a beam of light would turn towards us, and we would go back, and we tried like 3 4 times, and at one point the senior of the group just said like, okay guys, check your equipment, everything that can shine, like put your rifles under your jackets, hide out the buckles and everything. Whoever has a hat, put it over your face. Who have like a hoodie, put it over your head. Hide your hands and look away from this light and just move in a straight line across this field. So we did. We just chanced it. And we were already tired, wet. We couldn't stop because we were wet from the whole night rain. And it was just a little pause in the rain for, let's say, 20, 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And it started again. And if we were to stop, we were already on the edge of hypothermia. So we just kept moving. And we were moving and moving and moving, and at one point, we saw a tree line with two lights in it. As we had thermal and night vision with us, we checked it out, and it was Russian positions, like tents and stuff, where they made like a temporary kind of like a post. And we just went into this tree line, fairly 100 meters from them, and I asked for the senior of the group for a knife. He had a pretty huge knife, and I just started digging this hole. Me and one other guy dig that hole, and I had one of those, like gift paper bags.
Yeah, yeah.
So I emptied a powder from 50 rounds in it and put it on the bottom. Had some printing paper in a plastic folder which was dry in my rucksack. So I put it on top. We put small, completely wet twigs. It was pouring like crazy. And we just lit up this bag. And when the gunpowder lit up, it made a really big like flash. And it was lasting for, let's say, five minutes, and it dried these wet twigs a little bit. So we made turns, me and this guy who dug the hole, and we were just blowing into this hole, and little by little we made a fire. And decision was, okay, we're tired.
Risky.
We can't. Yeah, we can't continue. If we stop, we're gonna die of hypothermia. Like this, we're gonna either survive or get captured or get killed. So it's either die of hypothermia or get killed. So we're gonna chance it. Funny enough, in the morning when the dawn breaks, we noticed that we are about less than 50 meters from the road, and through these bushes and tree lines, we could see trucks with big letter Z's on the side moving by. So we waited for actually we couldn't wait for the nightfall. At this point we had to move because we were on the other side. There was Russian positions, so we didn't know in what kind of a situation we are. So we rested a little bit, we made fire, we baked some potato. The baking of the potato, we just throw it in. When it's done, pick it up, peel
Yeah.
it, and just eat it like that. We moved further, didn't cover much ground because we were at this point we were very close to the front line, to the zero line. So there was a lot of traffic from Russian vehicles and infantry and
Well,
stuff.
take
I
us
remember
up to the point where you got captured, as we're going to run out of time if we keep going. So take us up to the point where you got captured.
so after at one point we were again out of provisions, out of food. So
What day was
this
this?
this is day 12.
Day 12.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. We're about 12 kilometers from the arranged extraction position. So we notice again tree line, check the thermal and the night vision, notice that there are two tanks in the tree line. So at this point we were moving west, so decision was made to go north. Then we saw another position, checked it again, then we moved back east, then we moved back north, then back east, then went south. And by that time it was already dawn, and we were tired and hungry and thirsty. We were out of water and everything. So we got into this tree line and noticed that it's abandoned Russian position. There was cases for grad ammunition and some leftovers from Russian field rations. So we start gathering them, and everybody was trying to pick up whatever they can because we were hungry. And at one point, I look around and I noticed that I'm completely alone. So I put my AK on fully automatic, go into tactical movement, and slowly move in the direction where I last saw my guys. At one point, I catch up with them, so I put my rifle on the side. Okay, it's safe and stuff. And as we moving forward, we start hearing Russian voices. So we're very close to some kind of Russian position. And at this point, we were already split up from the main group when that firefight where I was wounded occurred. And there's only 17 of us. So we're gravely outnumbered. We are tired. We are out of provisions. And the commander just said, like, okay, lay low, no movement. If you have to piss in your pants, just no movement. So we lay low. and we were we were preparing to be here whole day still. But the the fate was such that one guy was left behind even further than me. So he was scared. He got out of the tree line and started running. So he went past us. We sent the guy to catch him up. He caught up with him and brought him, but it was too late because the Russian position saw them. So we hear them coming towards us, and we realize that contact is inevitable. So again, I take my rifle, I put my equipment on me, I'm prepared to fight and run. And the senior sergeant said, like, no, Vjekoslav, we're tired, we're outnumbered. This will only result in death of all of us. Leave your rifle. And so I did. They start coming closer to us, and they just said, hands up, get out of the tree line. They took us in the field, put us down on our bellies, uh, spread our legs and arms, and just searched us. Took everything we had, like knives and grenades, ammo, anything sharp. Then picked up all our belongings that we had on ourselves, like documents or cell phones or whatnot. And when they secured everything, they went into our equipment and started searching it. So they searched us. They radioed to HQ that they captured a group of Ukrainians. By this time, they didn't believe us that we came from Mariupol. They thought that we were like a recon special forces diversion team
Of
dropped
course.
in the back
Yeah,
to do some Bravo to Zero stuff, not
yeah,
just a
yeah,
very
yeah.
long escape and evade. And later, a guy who was in my group, he was exchanged, I believe, 2 months ago. He told me that until the very end, they didn't believe him that we came from Mariupol. That they just couldn't comprehend that we were able to cover so much ground in 12 days on foot. That it was just incredible to them.
Yeah, it's
So they
amazing.
capture us. They capture us. They tie our hands with the rope, put us on our knees. They asked the guys if they want cigarettes. They gave them cigarettes, as I don't smoke. And actually, the whole time I was captured, I was always asking for food because I was always thinking, if they give me anything at all, it might be my last meal. So that was
Yeah,
my.
absolutely.
Who knows when will be the next time when you're gonna be eating?
This was
So
our
I was like,
mantra. Do you remember? We used to say that every time. It was
yeah,
like, well, you never
yeah,
know where you're going to eat next. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So when they found my Croatian passport,
Uh-oh.
some colonel even showed up, and he was like, "Oh, you fucking like suka, you're gonna be in big trouble.
Suka
Like
bled.
you're first the
Cravat
one to
bled.
go." Yeah. So they had just a cloth shopping bag, orange one, if I'm not wrong, and they just put it on my head and just took me somewhere, and I don't know where. And the guy who was taking me actually told me, like, don't worry, everything's gonna be okay. And I was like,
Yeah, don't
no, man,
worry.
you're wrong, nothing's gonna be okay, everything's
No,
fucked,
no, no.
everything's fucked, and nothing's gonna be okay. So
This is just the beginning.
they took me to an improvised forward headquarters of
Yeah.
this unit, whatever it was, and put me next to the kitchen on a V-shaped growing tree. Set me down here, my hands tied, my bags on my head, and I was approached by some young guys with a bunch of questions which you wouldn't ask a regular soldier. So I told them, like, what are these questions for? Like, you are professional soldiers like me, you know the drill. And they said, no, mister, we are just conscripts. And then I realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't be talking to them because this can result in me being hurt more and punished for talking to them. So I just pulled back in and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
After that, here they give me some food again. Not again, just first time. First time they gave me some food. They gave me a cup of some borscht or stew or something. I eat that. Then they took me into a car. I don't know what kind of. It was a bag on my head, and drove me for a while. Then they brought me to some facility that resembled like a school campus or something like that, that had garages and stuff. And this was a main headquarters for not a regiment, not the brigade, but bigger, like entire corps. And they brought me in front of a general. Well, not immediately. At first, when they pulled me out of the vehicle, some NCO broke my nose 5 times in a row with his boot. He just asked me a question, gave me less than a second to answer, then struck me into my face. Immediately, I heard like that bone breaking sound, and just
Andy Hill told me, yeah.
water
We
waterfall of blood and snot came out.
You don't know this,
And
but when Andy Hill turned up at Makivka prison, he told me about you were alive, and I was describing you, and he said, "Yeah, but they broke his nose." He said, "It's
yeah,
blue. It's blue." He
yeah,
said,
yeah. When they first brought me to the black site after this position, there was a couple that interrogated me, and they planned to take me in front of journalists. And the second day they arrived, I actually turned out blue, like I was actually looking like a panda. And they were like, "What happened to you? Who beat you?" And I'm like, "Nobody. If you mean last night, they beat me like before, like heavily." Uh,
"Here we go. Here we go." I've got to tell people that we've done this over 3 sessions because it's so intense that this is why
yeah,
I've got a new black top on. This is why we've had a bit of 24 hours off. This is why you got a new t-shirt on. So we've literally done this over 3 sessions because I didn't want to
Charlie
miss.
can surf.
It's just like an advertisement for military. You are. I mean, you got camouflage pajamas and stuff, haven't you? And a camouflage onesie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's not a onesie. It's a two-piece, like a sports suit, but it's look more like a
sports.
pajama.
Do you see much sports
Yeah.
now?
Uh, yeah, I've seen a lot of people parasailing and windsailing here. I'm seeing much sport.
Yeah, seeing much sport. I'm not doing much at the moment. I've got to
Yeah,
admit, I'm still eat like a Marine, but I don't do the Marine shit anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
likewise.
So I just want to pick up from where we left off. So we got to the bit where you've just started to be captured. I want you to go into the real details of that, where the guy literally broke your nose. And how I know about that is because Andy Hill, who was came to us when I got after the trial, after my trial, had told me he'd met a Croatian. Well, I didn't know many Croatians in the
Yeah,
military at that point, so I was pretty much assuming it could be you, and I was absolutely ecstatic that you might be alive. But he told me you'd
yeah,
broken your nose.
yeah. But before that, you were thinking I was dead because they ask you about any other foreigners. You said about the Croat, and they say, "Oh, we haven't found him, so he must be dead." So
Yeah, there was
until
a lot
that
of that going
point
on.
in time, for as a matter of fact, for as far as you were regarded, I was dead.
Yeah, absolutely. He just said he'd met a Croatian with a blue nose, and I
Yeah,
was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, they've broken it."
yeah.
So talk us through that bit where you obviously carry on where you left off yesterday, where you talk about the bit with the guys. This your first real introduction to really captivity and the way you change a war and
Yeah.
the tactical questionings involved. Really interested in and how you really dealt with that.
So first, when they brought me to this station where this general was, who I later was brought in front of him, and his staff was questioning me, like there was two majors, a colonel, and all kind of high NCOs. But first, when they dragged me out of the car and throw me, my hands were still tied. I had the bag overhead, and just a boot came flying into my nose, and just it bursted with the waterfall of snot and blood. And after that, question started, but it was not real questioning. It was just question hit, question kick, and they were beating me however they wanted. I don't know who was it later. I saw his face. I don't know what's his rank or name or anything. Some major stopped him and just said, well, stop beating him between the questions. Give him some air to breathe and give him time to answer the questions. So it was just full blast of retarded questions. Like they were asking about what kind of vehicles my unit in Croatia is using. I'm like, I don't know. I left the Croatian military in 2011. How would I supposed to know what kind of, they sent you? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. No, we know you are NATO spy, special forces, what not, and Croatia sent you here to train these people and do special operations missions. And I'm like, yeah, I wish so, but it's not like that. So
No, I'm actually doing this
after
for
this,
$380 a month. I'm actually a private in the I'm
yeah,
actually a mattress.
$400 a month
Yeah,
plus
no, no.
$600 of combat payment.
Yeah. I get the same thing. It was like your SAS, your James Bond, your Special Forces. What I didn't
Yeah.
realize was that I had, at the time, I had a lot of expensive equipment on me that the normal Ukrainian soldiers probably wouldn't have. I had a Garmin watch, Buffalo Fleece, lower boots. My combats were pixel, but they were ripstop pixel, not the issue
Mm,
stuff and little
yeah.
things like cargo belts, condor
Yeah,
hats.
and for me it was a different thing. For me it was having three types of currencies. So dollars, rubles, grivnas, a Croatian passport, two phones, and also by the end of the time when we got kind of in contact with Ukrainian forces on unoccupied territory, all the information and directions and screenshots of maps were going through my phone. So of course, I had to be the leader of the group and the one who gives them all the information. It couldn't be anyone else. They were actually, remember the time when in Mariupol those helicopters flew in?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were convinced for a good part of the time that I was on those helicopters.
Yeah. That's some ballsy stuff, that. I can't believe
Yeah,
I witnessed that.
yeah. So as soon as this major came, they stopped with the beating and actually cleaned me up. The general kind of thought that I was a high value capture, so he didn't want to beat me anymore. They feed me a couple of times, gave me a like big cup of vodka, took me to take a shower, gave me a razor, said that I have to shave and all kind of stuff. So they brought me up and they were just questioning me like easy
Was it the
because they
Donetsk
all
People's Republic, or did you feel they were Russian? Because I got
no
handed
it
to the
no
Russians.
no I was captured and handed off to regulars, to Russian regulars.
Yeah, me
This was
too.
a Russian general. Oh, what God, I might be wrong, but I
Prokovnik
think
or something. Prokovnik or something.
no, a general,
Oh,
a
okay.
full like
Oh, okay.
2 or 3 star general.
Oh,
Like
bloody hell.
I believe his last name was Pavlov, but I couldn't be 100% sure because it was a lot of bidding involved. So my memory
Yeah.
might be not even 50% correct at that point. But then they were just talking to me. I was sitting down. There was no threats anymore. And they start bringing in the guys that I was with in my group. So they start bringing
Uh-oh.
them, and now the torture was completely focused on them. They were doing, the punishment that they do for the conscripts in Ukraine, how they make you put your hands in behind the head, stand on your tiptoes, and your head on the floor. So they were putting them in that stance and making them do push-ups and beating and all kind of stuff. They just made like this interrogation field with the desks and points where guys from my group were just brought and tortured and so on. So they were keeping me there until very late at night. Then somebody came with a helicopter just for me. I don't know who it was.
Really?
But yeah, they brought in someone, maybe FSB or something. I don't know who it was, but they brought him just for me. And he said, okay, I know where we'll take him. Go put him with the rest of the guys, and in the morning we're going to transport them off to the black site. So I even got a clean pair of socks and underwears. I was the only one at that point with the spare socks. So they bring me back to the rest of the guys.
It's those small goals, isn't it? Those small victories that you
remember. It's just small things that keep you, like if anything goes bad, I have another pair of socks to have if I will be in this socks.
I never saw a pair of clothes for maybe 2 months. So I was in the same underpants I was fighting in Mariupol with for 7 weeks, and then I didn't get any change of clothes for another 2 months after.
No. They made me take a shower and they gave me clean underpants. They made me shave. I had a huge beard that back then because obviously we didn't shave for 2 months in Mariupol. And gave me clean socks and another pair of spare socks. So it was like, okay, I'm good. At least, however bad it goes, I have at least one pair of clean socks for maybe a month or two after this. I don't know what will the situation be.
You said to me that they got you moving crates of their ammunition at the front and got you slave laboring on the front.
That was later in the black site. So the next morning they again covered their eyes, tied their hands, and loaded us on a truck with, I don't know if they were Chechen or Dagestani. I just know that they were Muslim and they talked differently. They didn't talk Russian. So as they had went through my phone, they had seen some messages that I was messaging with a friend in Croatia, and we were comparing the situation that it was before the full-scale invasion, and we were comparing some stuff in Ukraine happening to stuff in Kurambakh, and they were convinced that I fought in Kurambakh. So these guys were really keen to kill me. They started beating us again. They pulled me off my seat into the middle of the truck bed on my knees. They put a huge knife on my throat. Then I heard they chamber around on the rifle. In the end, the guy hit me actually kicked me with full force in the head, and I just lost consciousness. Like a few seconds later, somebody's pouring water over me and saying, no sleeping, I'm not done with you. Then they start beating me with the buttocks and stuff. And they were just like, I really want to kill this guy. Let's just throw him off the truck, shoot him, and tell the guys that he tried to run. And he said, yeah, we should do this, but I don't believe that we can. If it were someone else, we could, but they told us that so-and-so had to talk to him. So that was kind of like, I was high value capture, so that's what kept me alive. If they didn't thought that I was, they would wasted me just like this.
So even at that point, you had a sense that maybe you had some value. You probably didn't realize it, but you were starting to put two and two together that you might have some value.
Yeah. I noticed that they're gonna be beating me and torturing me and everything, but I understood that they were hoping to get some kind of very valuable intel out of me, and as long as they think that I'm a value of any value to them, I'm gonna be alive. So that was that, and at that point, I just I just understood that I can't be a blabbermouth and just spill everything out. I have to give them any information that they think it's valuable, little by little, because they have to have this impression that they beat it out of me. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is happening. I'm gonna be beaten like senseless. You have to go through this. You just have to make them feel that they broke you at some point, and now you are telling them everything. So that just my only concern was that the interrogation will be so intense that I will die from interrogation. Uh, I kind of understood that their hopes for me to be a valuable captive was just gonna keep me alive until they get the information.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, no, one thing I tell people is not like in the movies torture. It's very much the Russians use it in a slightly different way. Is that it's torture's largely been found to be it doesn't work. I mean,
yeah,
you're gonna tell him anything you want to stay alive, so it doesn't work. But where torture is exceptionally good is getting you to admit the things you haven't done and places you haven't
yeah,
been.
yeah,
So you're a Nazi. No, I'm not. Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
maybe I am. Because you
yeah,
just
yeah,
want it to stop in the end. And I think that's what I really tell people is that it's not like you see in the movies. It's not used like that. And they're already forward
yeah,
thinking because further down the line they're going to put you through a public trial. And if you don't do what you're told, you're going to go back to that. So at the end of it, that's why they have 100% success rate with the lawyers. Everybody's guilty. So it's like
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
there is a law,
Except
there is
except
a
for me,
judicial.
I didn't. Me and Dylan, we completely disputed their charges. I didn't. I said that I don't feel guilty by any point of the indictment.
Yeah, I don't want to go there because me and Dylan had formulated a plan, consider a
Yeah,
great plan because
yeah.
of
He
what happened
told me
to
you
us.
had an
Yeah,
all nighter with coffee and preparing his defense, like
yeah, it
on
was
some kind of
turned into the Great Escape, and we had some coffee, and that was it for the night. We're gonna
yeah.
fuck them. We're gonna fight them. We're gonna get back. We can't just roll over and take this.
When Dylan told me that, I was like, "What the fuck? You have coffee on your side? God damn it!
Yeah.
Like we barely get tea, like proper tea and proper compote. Like
Brahim
coffee
got
is
it. Brahim was got his sister got an outside lawyer, so his lawyer brought in some coffee
yeah,
and he shared it amongst us. So we wouldn't have had it if it wouldn't been for Brahim.
yeah.
So
They didn't allow us anything. They
no, we got nothing.
uh, when Aiden was questioned by MGBs, he managed to get brushes and toothpaste. And later he got 2 books, but they took it away from us the second day when the responsible one for us came to the Sizoy in Donetsk.
So how long were you at the black site for?
So in the black site, let me think. So I was captured on April 24th. I was brought there on April 25th, and they took me away on May 5th.
Okay.
So 10 days, about 10 days, 10, 15 days,
Now
something like that.
talk to us about the scissor there when you met the big guy.
When I met who?
Aiden.
Oh, Aiden. So when they brought me to CISO, at first I was in a cell with 11 other Ukrainians who were from completely different areas and completely different stories. There was guy from who was a unit that's stationed in Urzov. There was guy who was ex Azov who mobilized again. He was a tanker. There was two guys who were in used to be in Azov, but their contract ended and they just one was picked in an infiltration point, one in they came home when Mariupol fell. They were just going house to house and going in, searching your house, and if they found that you served before, you're a terrorist. That's it. There was a boy, was he 17 or 18 years old? I couldn't remember. He had a trident tattoo here, so that's why they pick him up, and he was charged with extremism. There was a civilian cook from Azov. There was all kind of guys, so it was a mixture. So first period in CISO, I spent a roughly month or so. Then they were clearing the our block was cleared. We were moved to another block, so they have space for new coming captives.
Just
So
explain what the scissor is, because people won't understand it.
CISO is like a jail. So you get usually it's used to hold someone there who is arrested, and they hold them there for 1 month until the trial. So every time somebody would come close to this 1 month, they would bring you the set of documents which you would sign that give them allow them to keep you another month, and that's how they were holding people there for months and months and months. So after they cleared the block, they put us in another cell. There was a bigger group of like 20 something people. At that point, I already met Dylan and Paul Urey. If you remember, he died.
Yeah.
So at that point, I already met them. Dylan told me about you being sentenced to death, and that you're in a pretty bad mood at the point, and that you're planning on his defense and whatnot, and all kind of things that happen in the meantime. And when I last saw him and Paul was in pretty bad shape. He was vomiting. He was thirsty. I don't know if people know Paul was diabetic. So when they brought me to the investigator's office, I was brought by a group, a team of 3 guys from CISO to the investigator's office, while Dylan and Paul were brought from
My prison,
your
Makivka.
prison, from Makivka, and they were in custody of some. It looked like a special forces team. They had all kind of Gucci gear, like MP5s, Uzis with silencers, lasers, red dot, and whatnot. Like so, as I weren't in their custody, I was sitting on a bench with just handcuffs, and they put a little bit of bag so I don't see their faces over my eyes, but not below, lower than my nose. While Dylan was handcuffed to the back, put in an uncomfortable position, leaning against the wall with bag on his hand, and Paul was handcuffed to the radiator next to the window, and they give him some water, so he vomited. So he asked them for more water, and they just said, no, you're gonna throw up in our car, we'll have to clean it, you're gonna get water when we go back to the prison. So next time I met Dylan and all the other guys that were with me in a trial, like John Harding and Matthias Gustafsson and Andrew Hill, they told me that Paul have died. And by that time, actually, they transferred me to Aiden's cell the day after Paul died. And which, by deducting the events that were happening around us, we concluded that they put us, all of us foreigners were put in like safe space. So they transferred me first to Aiden's cell, and the next morning they transferred us 2 cells across, because the door to our cell was directly under video surveillance. And also later as I understood Russian, when they were taking us around the prison for some kind of interrogation, I heard one of the guards talking to on a phone, and I realized that they dedicated a responsible person for us in the prison, the only one who had keys to our cell and to the
Yeah.
little window where they were giving us food. So often, because this person was busy during the day, we would get breakfast at like 6 in the morning, and we would get lunch and dinner at 7 in the evening. And we were developing all kind of conspiracy theories in our heads, like, oh, they're punishing us for certain and stuff like this. And if you remember, I don't know if you had it in your prison, there was this situations where the guard would come and just yell like Putin, Zelensky, and you would have to say like Huilo or
No,
president of the
they didn't
whole
do
piece.
that. Yeah, Aidan told me about
Yeah,
that.
so they were doing that in our block, and as they would be selling like you have to say Zelensky faggot, Poroshenko faggot, and then when they would yell Putin, we would have to yell the president of the whole world. But they skipped Poroshenko and they went straight to Putin, and they didn't just went faggot, and I'm like, what the
It said
fuck? What
Putin
the fuck? Are
Hoilo or
you crazy?
something.
Now they're gonna go
Yeah,
inside and they're gonna kill us. And we were
yeah.
just waiting, scared shitless, waiting for them to come in and beat the hell out of us. And we were just listening to them smiling outside and laughing and saying something. And I was like, God damn it, they're planning to do something to us, God knows. And later, Aiden deducted, oh, you remember when I yelled Putin faggot? And I said, yeah. Well, we already had the responsible person. They couldn't access us even if we would yell Putin faggot all day. They couldn't do anything to us. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah. So that was another little victory for us, like, yeah, we there talked about Putin, and they couldn't do anything to us. So
The
yeah,
backstory is that Paul Urey was a British NGO who unfortunately
yeah,
was in the next cell to me, who'd got such a beating with you guys at the prosecutor's
yeah,
office that he died of his injuries 2 days later. And then Russia Today were in with the FSB. It was the only time I'd ever heard the words FSB were mentioned was when they came to our prison and started broadcasting literally within 24 hours of him dying that a terrorist had died of natural causes, which was then just outrageous. I mean,
yeah,
he hadn't even gone for a medical exam or coroner or anything like that. And
yeah,
Russian state media are outside telling everybody, the whole world, that he's a terrorist and he's died. He was an NGO
yeah,
worker. He wasn't even military. I mean, he was so
yeah.
overweight and
He wasn't he
diabetes.
wasn't even fit to be a military or even a police officer or anything. He was a
Absolutely. Yeah. So
fairly older person, and not too old, but he was like short and a bit of
mm,
overweight. But yeah, they wouldn't hear for it. Like,
no, it's crazy. And
yeah,
I mean, our
you're
situation
for it.
changed after that too. We were already kept in general population, but isolated. But we
Yeah,
started to have a Russian woman wearing full Russian fatigues with her patches removed start turning up in our meetings. And she was, a blonde woman who had some schooling in the UK, and she turned up to make sure that that didn't happen again, which was our assumption, was that she was there for that. But she just sat in the background. She was clearly in charge because the MGB, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, who's the prison we were in, which is, for those that don't know, it is the Donetsk People's Republic's version of the FSB. They predate the KGB, so that
yeah,
these are organisations that they've kept the acronyms MGB. So they were
yeah,
there, but they were very ill trained, ill equipped, didn't know how to handle us, and she was there just to manage to make sure none of us died over there while they were negotiating an exchange, which again was, would you say? I mean, I know Aidan struggled with this, but for me, I think self-induced pressures were far worse than system-induced pressures. Would you say that's the case for you?
Mm,
I mean, what you could do to yourself in your head is far, for me, was far worse than getting beaten and interrogated. And because at least I thought I was busy and I could deal with that. And I was, you know, I could get a cigarette and I could get something from the interviews because I was pulled out for immense propaganda.
yeah.
But when that stopped after 3 months from sort of after the trial through to when we were exchanged, I was climbing the walls. It was really hard to
Yeah.
keep my mind in gear to deal with that. I just wondered if you've got any sort of experience.
While we were in captivity, to be honest, I didn't think of self-injuries because I had plenty of those that they did to me. So
Yeah.
my state of mind was something like this, you know, when you're on a very long trip and you have just a few miles you're just few miles from home, and you're like, oh, I'm sleepy, but a little bit more and I'm gonna be home. So my whole time was just a little bit more and it's over, just a little bit more and it's over. And I don't know how, but that kept me going until the date of the exchange.
Yeah. So just quickly before we go through the exchange bit, talk about the trial. How was the trial?
Yeah, so good for me was the following situation. Aiden explained to me how your trial went. So you were in a basement away from public, and they had control over you. So they could do anything to you. So they kind of manipulated you to
Mm.
admit to the charges that you are guilty and stuff. For me, we also got lawyers and stuff. And at first, I must admit that I was expecting to my lawyer to be exactly like yours. But on the day of the trial, they brought us, as you see on internet and TV and everywhere. They brought us into this huge courtroom, uh, where there was over 20 cameras and people from the news and television and whatnot. And I was like, okay, whatever I say to the court, they're gonna disregard it. They already decided that I'm a mercenary terrorist and everything that. But I have to send a strong message to the world. So we had kind of like 5 minutes to talk to our lawyers. Everyone had his own lawyer, but on the day of of the trial, they only my lawyer was present and two others who was God knows who. So they assigned Matthias Gustafsson to my lawyer and some other two others, and he came close to the cell we were holding in the courtroom, and we were able to talk to him. So said to my lawyer, you know, those charges that they put at us, I'm not going to admit to them because they're not the truth. And he just said, okay, then just say what the truth is. And I was okay. So I elaborated that I don't feel guilty of being mercenary because before that, in the interrogation process from the investigation office of Donetsk People's Republic, a colonel from the Russian investigative committee appeared, and he questioned me, and he had access to my phones, so he found my contract with Ukrainian armed forces in that phone, and he presented it to me, and he presented me a whole new case, like where I wasn't suspect or charged or anything. I read the whole case because that's another advantage that you said that I have. I could read Cyrillics
Yeah.
pretty good and I could understand the language. So I went through the whole case and I saw that everywhere that I was suspect or accused, it was changed to witness. And I asked him, okay, witness, but witness to what? And he was said witness to mercenary. And I was like, okay, this could be my tool to even help you and Aiden and Brahim. And I'm like, this guy served with me in my battalion, like but Donetsk People Republic didn't care for that. But I mentioned this in court that he changed the Russian case Russian indictment from like being accused to being just a witness. I said that my phones are written down in the indictment in the last page where the evidence are, and I said, why are my phones listed here? But my contract with Ukrainian military, who frees me from this charge of being a mercenary, is not. So this is why I refused this charge that I'm a mercenary. Second of all, charge for terrorist training. I said, like, we didn't receive any terrorist training. My training was basic military training that every soldier, every serviceman in the world receives, as well as your servicemen.
Yeah.
And the third one, the charge that I came with my free will to overthrow the government of Donetsk People's Republic just breaks down because I was a serviceman. This previous evidence that I presented just proves that I was Ukrainian
Yeah,
serviceman.
they skip stuff out. They skip stuff out all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah, my contract.
And
they did have that.
when I said that, they just said, "Oh no, it's not now time for this. We're gonna talk about this later." But I didn't care for that because it was in on the cameras and on the journalist in the news, and
Later, I got the death penalty. How are we going to talk about it later? When I'm dead? You know, it's like, it's just, and then the judge said to me, you know, there's no Russians here. And there was a picture of Putin hanging in the other room just before you went into the courtroom.
Yeah.
So I was just sort of, there's nothing we could do. And me and Aidan tried to plead not guilty, and they stopped the trial and then told us that we couldn't do that. And they did the minute, if you want to go home, you
didn't have the choice because they keep you in the basement. I had like, let's say, protection of 20 cameras and 20 journalists, so I could present my case the way it is. It wasn't just a complete kangaroo. And funny enough, I was very, very shocked, like positively but shocked, when my lawyer, when they asked if the lawyers had any questions, and he started interrogating me. Everything was interrogation, but he was asking such questions that went in my favor, and I was like, oh my god, can he do that? Will he be in trouble? Like, okay, it doesn't matter, this helps my case, so okay, this is happening, it's good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it all worked out well in the end. I mean, we got back. How did you find out you were going to get exchanged?
Well, the more, actually it was already noon or even afternoon when they were loading us on trucks, and they loaded 48 of us. I think you were already with Dylan and the guys on the truck, if I'm not
I think so. We came to pick you up afterwards. I heard Aidan's voice as you got on.
And they told us on the truck, or before just loading us up on a truck, they told us that we are going to exchange. But remember when they stopped and they told me to get out, and I was calling each one of you, I was translating, and they put us in another truck, and we ended up in Rostov airport. Remember how I said, I don't know, I heard the plane taking off, and I was like, we're in Rostov airport.
And people going, how do you know we're in Russia? And I'm going, because there's a no-fly zone in Ukraine. There's fucking jets going. We're in Russia, and I live in Mariupol.
And the only if you make a deduction, the only working airfield that's close enough for us to be driven there is Rostov-on-Don.
Rostov-on,
Mariupol. Mariupol's airport was completely destroyed. Donetsk airport was still fighting there, so no flying over there. So it must have been here. And when I heard the jets, and I thought that, okay, maybe Ukrainians are going to exchange, but God knows where we're going. Maybe we're going to Siberia, and we're going to disappear for next 20 to 25 years.
I gotta admit,
the next time we got information that we are getting exchange, we were already in the air over the Black Sea, and the crew of the plane told us, "Oh, you are free now. You are getting exchanged." But deep down inside, I was still skeptical.
It was the first time I saw you, and I sort of said, "How you doing?" And we have a big hug, and it was quite emotional. You said to all the lads, "I need to work on my cardio."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which was made me laugh. And but I mean,
yeah,
looking back on it, I mean, it's we got to wrap up because we've had sort of 3 45 minute sessions and we're going to bore
yeah.
everybody to death with it. But so where can people find you? What are you doing now? Obviously, I just want to touch on one thing. Since you've been exchanged, you received what sentence inside Russia?
Yeah, yeah. Afterwards, there was a new process against five of us: Dylan, Andrew, John Harding, Matthias Gustafsson, and me in Rostov military court in absence. So they put us on a new trial for mercenary and terrorism, and I was sentenced in absence for 23 years in maximum security prison somewhere in Russia. But
So don't get caught
I'm not.
again.
I'm not in Russia. I'm most wanted man on my island, but I'm not on my island.
It's an amazing story, mate, because we have to
Yeah,
skip over it really quickly, and
yeah,
you need to write a memoirs because there's you had 12 days, over 12 days escaping and evading through enemy lines. It is exactly like Bravo 20. We don't give it the time it
yeah.
deserves. You
It's a
can't even.
spectacular failure.
It's a spectacular failure. You failed more spectacular than I could ever do, and you almost made it back. So, the one that almost got away.
Maybe I should name my book "The One That Almost Got Back."
Almost got back. Thanks
Yeah.
very much for chatting with us, mate. If there's anything else you want to add, where people can find you and social media and stuff,
Well, I have a Instagram profile and a Facebook page with my name, Vjekoslav Prebeg. That's it. There
okay,
I
man.
write the thing about things that I think are important. I don't post much because I'm not trying to be present. I'm not trying to be first to publish something, but I try to publish things that are very very important. That I think, like information. I published a video about a Russian soldier in captivity calling to his mom, and she refused to talk to him because
Oh, I
the
saw that. Yeah.
person who handled him didn't allow her to ask him about her paycheck, and she said, "Then we don't have anything." Things like this, because it's important to show the world what is the Russian mentality, how they feel about this war, because they are not in the mood to end it. They're
No.
not in the mood to end it. They're in the mood to go on to capture Ukraine, to erase it from history and from existence, and they're gonna not stop here. They want the whole Russian Empire, not the Soviet Union, the Russian Empire as it used to be, with half of Poland, and Estonia, Latvia, the whole Baltic area, maybe even part of Finland. That's why Finland joined NATO, because they recognize the threat of Russia to their territory, and God knows what else. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm focused on, to show the important stuff. What's the mentality in Ukraine? What's the mentality of Russia? How this war is approached from this and that side, and sometimes even how Europe feels about this war. So I
Good man.
think that
Keep talking.
people
Keep
need to,
talking.
yeah, people need to understand what's happening and what's important.
What Russia is. Slava
Yeah,
Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini,
Slava
Heroям
Ukraini.
Slava.
Thanks very much, man. Take it easy.
You too.
See you, brother.